Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. I'm Dave Valente. This evening, we are joined by Dan, the man, Fishman. What do you got in front of here, man? What is that? A horse?
Wait. I violated the cardinal rule. I have audio in another window.
Uh-oh.
Okay, now I'm good.
There you go. What do you got there? Is that a
Blanton's.
Blanton's? Very nice. Single barrel bourbon whiskey. Dan, you are a member of the Bourbon
My
Caucus.
drink du jour in
Very
honor
nice.
of the Kentucky Derby weekend and just an incredible race.
And your Boston Bruins winning a couple games. My shirt is kind of related, but it's different.
That's pretty good too.
Joining us for the first time, our new co-host, AJ Campbell. How you doing, AJ?
What's up, AJ?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you both.
Yeah,
Good to see you again. I saw AJ not that long ago down in Tennessee.
that's right.
Down in Tennessee, yes, sir. That was some good times.
It was indeed.
Funny story. I invited AJ to come join us on our merry crew, and she sent me an audio clip saying, "This is what I sound like," and I responded to her, "I married a Georgia peach. If I was offended by accents, I'm living the wrong life." So I am very happy to have AJ on the channel and being a voice for the Southern woman.
Oh, that sounds dangerous. I'm not sure we should go there just yet.
There we go. Hey, how you doing, Craig?
What's up, Craig?
Tonight we are talking with members of the United States Pirate Party. The United States Pirate Party is an international political movement that started in Sweden in 2006. In fact, the United States Pirate Party was the second official branch of the Pirate Party back then. It's kind of ebbed and flowed, and we've got a new group has taken over and really moving the party forward. And I wanted to bring on a couple of folks from them to talk about the Pirate Party. AJ is the outreach director.
Oh,
is that correct?
Outreach chair. So I'm not I still have a board to listen to, and they kind of keep me in check.
There you go. And then, of course, former Libertarian Party member Drew Bingaman, who is now the Pirate Party organizer for the state of Pennsylvania. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome.
Also, my screen looks a little bit strange. I might have to leave and rejoin, but I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. So while he's gone, Drew, what drew you to the United States Pirate Party?
Well, as most libertarians know, there is a large group of angry people that have been trying to force some people out, trying to take over the party. And they were doing a very good job of taking over. And I just decided it was just time for me to find another political home that wasn't going to be so hostile to me. And this wasn't a new thing for me. I became kind of enemy number one back in 2018 when I chaired the national delegation for Pennsylvania. Following I followed basically our precedents, and that got me in hot water with those people. So they've been a thorn in my side ever since. And I just decided that enough was enough. I'm not going to spin my wheels anymore with the LP, especially in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And I started looking for a new home, and I found the Pirate Party. And to be honest, it really hits a lot of things for me. I mean, first of all, one, I'm a computer guy, so the 21st century pirate side of things, the technical side of information freedom and privacy really hits home. And that was one of the things that the Pirate Party was founded on. And then on top of that, I am really starting to dig the historical pirate politics. And I mean, when I say that, I mean real pirates, like how real pirates operated their ships and how egalitarian and how democratic they really were. And I just want to bring that to a political party, to bring those ideals and things to the people of Pennsylvania.
Cool. Excellent. So the Pirate Party, as I mentioned, is an international political movement. It is actually the current second largest party in the nation of Czechia, or I'm sorry, third largest. There's also a significant Pirate Party representation in the Icelandic Parliament, and a couple other. Luxembourg, I think, has a couple of members of Parliament as well. And there are some members of the European Parliament, I believe, for the Pirate Party. So they are. It's an international movement. What I guess compare and contrast what's going on between the European movement and the United States movement at this point.
Really, the European movement and the United States movement, ideologically, we're not all that different. I know other sort of, worldwide movements like the Greens, for example, they're very, very different depending on which country you're in, at least from what I've seen and heard. With the Pirates, it's not like that. I think basically just anywhere you go in the world, for one, you're going to find a pirate. Like legitimately, almost every country has at least one person that's online talking about how much they love pirate politics. It's insane. And two, for the most part, you're going to find that you have a lot in common with them politically, and I think that's great. In terms of comparing and contrasting, I guess, success, naturally, European countries have a much better democratic model than we do. So that means pirate parties have been able to succeed at all sorts of levels. Some have seats in their national parliaments. We have a few, Czech ministers that are pirates. The mayor of Prague is a pirate, which I think is really cool. But then, even at the lower level, we have a lot of pirates. I think still in Sweden, and I know there's some in Germany around. And in the U.S., unfortunately, it's just not that easy for minor parties. Well, for one, there's not even a difference between the two biggest parties and minor parties. Everything else is it's those two options. In places like Europe with a proper parliamentary democracy, there's more of a sliding scale. So we're allowed to be like a small to medium, niche special interest party, and that's okay. That's just not the case here. But we still work very hard, and I'm legitimately optimistic when it comes to where the Pirate Party is going. I think we've got a lot of great people right now, and I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, some members that have been here for years, even, over a decade at this point, have said, in private over this past year, they've just talked to me and they've been like, I'm really, really excited for the future of this party. And these are people that have been here the whole time. So I don't want to be too much of a pessimist.
I get it because right now I think we're kind of in our pessimism mode for us. But talk about the structure of the United States United States Pirate Party. How's it structured nationally, or is it more focused on local?
Oh, so there are a few interesting things that I could say about that. For one, I think the thing that we do that's really unique and really interesting and really cool about the National Party is that it's not a top-down operation. The National Party is essentially, sort of like a cooperative of state parties. Each state gets a representative at every meeting, and it's just the National Party is a group of state parties, and state parties are encouraged to do a lot of direct democracy efforts at their level. So there's in the Pirate Party, you're not like getting orders top down from a national party or anything. Within your state, you are part of, a group of people just like you that try and vote on things democratically. There's a lot of democratic engagement in the party. And then whoever you voted on to be your state representative then goes to the national meeting and talks with other people that are representing other state pirate parties. So that's sort of how we work at the national level. The National Party really doesn't have that much power. The National Party doesn't even have membership. You're a member of your state party, which is supposed to be, a direct democracy cooperative type deal. And then the state parties get together and they talk about things.
Dan, what you got?
So I was interested. I know when the Pirate Party took off, Swarmwise was a big thing. Are you guys still using Swarmwise? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Oh, I wish Mitch DeVillo was here. He is what we call our swarm care manager. And he is the guy that right now does the Swarmwise stuff. So for anyone that doesn't know, I don't know how to sum it up super, super briefly, but Swarmwise and, the idea of the swarm is just, a form of, sort of decentralized leadership theory almost. Pirates, we think it's really cool. I mean, the whole idea was started inside the Pirate Party. Swarmwise was written by Rick Falkvinge, which was one of the founders of the Swedish Pirate Party, and it all came from his own experience organizing the pirate movement. And so, yeah, we do try and stick to that. We have a swarm care manager, and, Mitch DeVillo's job is to try and ensure that our organization stays true to the principles of Swarmwise, and that we're not, and that, too much power doesn't become centralized anywhere, and that we're always empowering people to have the power themselves. We don't want people to wait on us to tell them to do things. We actually, one of my favorite parts about sort of Swarmwise leadership that we try to embody in the pirate is this, the party is this idea of the 3 pirate rule. Basically, if 3 pirates agree on something and say they can do it, then they can go do it, no questions asked. So no, we do still try and we still try and hold true to those principles.
That's interesting. One of the things that I always liked about in terms of decentralization was that it really empowers people to take action themselves, which for people who don't know, the Swarmwise manual is available for free online.
Yep.
You can download it as a PDF. And if you're looking to get an organization going, because I know you guys in Sweden went from 0 to, I think, 600,000 members in the first 2 years.
Very quickly.
Swarmwise. And 2 seats in the European Parliament. And so it is a successful model.
Yeah. And that's the thing about decentralization and about making sure that people know that they're not waiting anyone to tell them what they can and can't do. Things happen quickly, and you're really taking advantage of the fact that people want to volunteer, for themselves because they want to do it. And that just works out so much better than, these ultra structured organizations where you have to get permission for everything. Naturally, we do still have checks and balances in the organization. Not anyone can just go on Twitter and tweet whatever they want, because that would be terrible, as we've learned from certain libertarian state parties. But in general, we do try and stick to the idea that the people should be empowered, and they should feel empowered to make the changes that they want to make. And that's why, you don't need permission from national to start a state party, actually. What happens... You can go there.
No, I just wanted to say that one of the things that we've done in Pennsylvania is instead of Robert's rules for our rules of order, which we've decided to eschew those and go with consensus decision making, which takes it from a confrontational system, which pretty much is what Robert's rules is, to a cooperative system. It's like we all have a common goal. So how do we get there, and how do we work through our differences to get to an agreement? And that's one of the things that we did. That's one of the things that I wanted to find something else that replaced Robert's rules and replaced that gamesmanship and that adversarial attitude that really comes up in Robert's rules, with the I'm arguing for this or I'm arguing against this, and consensus decision making is more about, okay, you tell me why, or what can we do differently, or how do we get through this? And it's a cooperative thing rather than just yes, no, hard stops and things. And that goes right along with I think the empowering everybody. And with consensus decision making, you can hold things up, a lot easier if you really want to be that way. But the way that it's designed to work through things, and instead of actually just having somebody stand up and say no. So,
and to
is
that
it more
point,
efficient? Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm not so sure if it's more efficient, but it cuts down on the adversarial part of things.
It's healthier.
It is,
and sometimes that's more important than efficiency, because you can be efficient. You can be focused on efficiency all you want. There's going to come a day that other things that you've just been ignoring in favor of efficiency, start to creep up on you. But if you have a healthy organization, then you're going to know that it's going to stay healthy and that it can tackle all of the challenges that it needs to tackle.
Yeah, the most efficient society doesn't have dissent in it. It doesn't mean that's the right way to go.
Mostly made their trains run on time. That wasn't the best thing.
We also don't seem to have leadership getting in the way of the people on the ground actually doing the work. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't.
I like that.
Yeah, so I'm also, Drew can speak to.
We don't like hierarchy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what example to use because I think Drew and I.
My favorite example is one of the principles of Swarmwise is that if 3 people agree on something, they can do it. They don't have to.
The pirate rule. We just talked about that. Yeah.
We have
saved me so much trouble.
we have a captain who's the chair. We have a quartermaster who is in our bylaws would be like the vice chair. But those people aren't there to be people of authority. They're there to facilitate the meeting and to be there to help. We're there to help. We're not there to run things and tell people what to do. And that's part of it goes back to the historical pirate ethos of, we are a collective. And I know a lot of people don't like that word, especially a lot of people that are more on the right, especially fiscally or
we're a collective of empowered individualists, is the way I'd put it. We try and do both because I honestly think a lot of us believe that it's absolutely possible to do both. You can be a group of strong-willed individuals.
And I think that goes to one of the other reasons why I like the Pirate Party, because the Pirate Party has that built in that we care, that we are a collective, and that's a collective as society, and not just individualists. Yes, we care about individual rights. Yes, we care about you being empowered, but we care about everybody being empowered and working together to reach goals. And that goes to some of what we're gonna try to do in Pennsylvania is try to get each local affiliate to bring a local mutual aid project to the party and really show that we're here to help, not just try to get in power and run things, because that's not really what I want to do anyways.
It sounds it's very small L libertarian.
It is.
In that respect, it is individualism. It is empowering individualism to serve the greater good, really, when you're looking at it. And I always think that that's where we should be going as a group is, hey, yes, we're all individuals empowered to do things as long as we don't interfere with anybody else's rights to do what they want to do. And then we should be serving one another to make the best society that we can. Because if we're just going to fuck off and do whatever we want to on the side, then things aren't going to work. It's eventually going to break down. So, so it is a small L libertarian. Where would you say that you guys differ from the big, besides like national structure and all that stuff, the big L libertarians?
There are a few different ways I could go about this, and Drew, feel free to chime in at any point. I think one thing is, the Libertarian Party is very much built on, those principles of classical liberalism. The Pirate Party is built on the pirate movement, like piratism, if you will. Pyrism. We don't have a good word for it. Pirate politics is what the Wikipedia page says. But while that might be a similar set of beliefs, I think it's different in enough ways that, people should be aware that it's not just the Libertarian Party. We have our own history and we have our own values. We like to, consider ourselves somewhat syncretic. So we have both people who are hardcore. Here's the funny thing about this pirate leadership stuff we've talked about. Believe it or not, this might be really hard to believe. We have people who are like hardcore, like classical liberal, right libertarian types, and people who are hardcore left libertarian types in the party, and they all get along and they all agree on basically everything. Because of the way we run our organization, we find out that everyone has a lot more in common than they do different. And I feel like that might blow some libertarians' minds a little bit, but it works.
I think
yeah,
I think the biggest thing is culture.
Mhm.
Honestly, that again, we look at things as a collective, that we're working together. I found from the very beginning with the Libertarian Party that somebody was always telling me I was wrong.
Mhm.
Like, no matter what it was, it doesn't matter what it was, somebody was telling me that my opinion was wrong. For and it's the other side of that is when I would meet people in the street and tell them that I was a libertarian, they would almost always tell me, "Yeah, I know somebody that's a libertarian, but they're terrible." Like the public perception, the
They
people
meant Dave.
that they know,
Yeah.
they met Dave, but a lot of but it was because their previous experience with people that called themselves libertarians were very selfish people, and that that they just wanted to do what they wanted to do and be left alone. Which I mean, I get that, but when you put that out into the ether and start putting that, like, I don't care about you, I only care about me, leave me alone, just that's all I want to do, and I'm going to be a jerk too, because that's a lot of it too. Is like the guy that's my libertarian neighbor, he's a real jerk. He does whatever the heck he wants and doesn't care about what I think. I mean,
The obvious question I have to ask though is then, like, you get a lot of people who say, I know some pirates in Somalia, and couldn't resist it. But it does lead to an interesting question. So you talk about sort of the core of libertarianism, and I think for a lot of us, it's coercion. At what point in time do you get to say you have to do that? Is there a line in the Pirate Party where you guys say, you know what, if we have this much of a consensus, some people got to suck it up and do what everybody said, what the consensus says?
I don't know if there's no nap like with the Pirate Party. I mean, and to me that always seemed to be used as a weapon. Like, I can be a jerk, but I'm not using violence. I'm just I didn't violate the nap, kind of a thing. But we have 8 core values, and those are sort of like our statement of principles / the nap. And the last one of those is we actively practice these values. And as far as I'm concerned, and the few others that are working with me to really build the core of the Pennsylvania Pirate Party, if you violate those core values, that's when you cross the line. For me, that's just my opinion. So
I'd say that's similar throughout the organization. So if you break some of them, off the top of my head, we've got privacy, transparency. What's some of the others? I think humanism is one of them. Diversity. Those are some of the words we like to throw out there. So, and all of them are based off of the first principle. And principle 0 is, empowerment of everybody. So I really think that the line that you would cross to make a lot of people, in the pirate movement not happy with you is if you try to undermine everyone's individual right to have some form of empowerment.
And one thing that I would say to Dan would be that, unlike in the Libertarian Party, we can work as, when we get elected, we can work as elected officials within a system without having that burden of other members of our party tell us we're doing the wrong things because we're part of that system. Or that we're not doing enough to for liberty, or if say I get elected to a legislature and I start putting up bills and that they're not radical enough for people in the party, in the Libertarian Party, I'd be getting a lot of flack for that. I know
you're not a real libertarian,
right? That's exactly it. We don't have that. We don't have that burden in the Pirate Party. We have we're working to go in this direction. We're working to reform. We don't have these hard rules like the NAP, because really, if you take the NAP as far as it should go, it's really difficult to have any government at all.
Well, it's an interesting point because Polar Knights just posted about a pirate will take taxes for himself and his crew. The libertarians have always opposed taxes on the idea that it violates the NAP. Taxes are collected at the point of a gun. Do you guys have an opinion about that?
I mean, we can't. The thing about pirates is that we try to be pragmatic. So I don't really know if there's one cohesive like vision for what the perfect future utopia would look like. I can't tell you if in magical Christmas world for pirates if there are taxes or if there aren't taxes. I can't answer it like that. I think libertarians have very strong. In the perfect world, get rid of them. We don't need them. I can't promise that for pirates. Drew,
I can tell you that from my experience so far, that there are a lot of people that lean towards Georgism.
Yep, that is actually my branch of libertarianism.
Nice.
Yes, there's a lot there.
You'd like some of it. Well, you'd like talking to Mitch. I know that.
there are I would say that's a lot of it. I mean, personally, I am more of a I'm more centrist when it comes to economics, but I also do think there are ways that we can minimize taxation, and if we minimize government, we can minimize taxation. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some core function of government that can be self-funded. Some things may need some form of taxation, but I think the burden that we have now is just insane. I mean, how many times does a dollar gets taxed? It's just ridiculous. So
to that point, yeah.
I mean, I mean, obviously the principle of it is, yes, taxation is theft. It is being taken at the point of a gun, but at the same time, there are better ways to tax than how we do it now.
Mm-hmm. There is something I want to add to this that I just kind of thought up. While Drew was talking. Also, Drew, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm constantly interrupting you.
No,
Please
it's fine.
Feel free to yank the conversation back. Whatever. But I do think that something I think is important to point out. This isn't really written in the pirate theory or ideology, but it has something to do with just generally how a lot of pirates in the movement feel. Because one thing too is that our platform, our stances, our goals are really dependent on what the people in the organization want because we're so decentralized. And I can say that from talking currently, the United States Pirate Party does have, platform considerations for, wanting to publicly fund, this or that, or, have something, things that I think hardcore libertarians would maybe hate a little bit. But the idea there is that I think pirates believe that, maybe there are some circumstances where you can, balance positive and negative liberty to some degree where, to pirates, the government doing something is not inherently evil. There are ways that it could shake out in your favor. Now, those things would be better if we had a smaller government that couldn't, shoot you if you did the things that they didn't like. That would be great. But, for one, pirates like the public education system. We think it's fine, and we think that, it should be stronger because we're so, pro-knowledge and pro-info freedom and all of that. So...
But there's plenty of reform that can happen in that system.
There's so much reform that can happen. We're not, beholden to the way things currently are. We think that it could be so much better. But I think that, when it comes to pirates and taxes, or I guess pirates, the idea of, building, sort of this public civil society in general,
right?
We are, I think, more willing to say that's possible.
Yeah, I think, sort of to explain. So where I am as a libertarian, and I think sort of most libertarians would agree with this thing, is that we don't hate taxes because we hate roads and because we hate schools or anything else. It's just the force behind it. Mm-hmm. It's at what point in time are you justified to say, you have to give me money for my good idea? Mm-hmm. And that's sort of where we run into, I think, a differing path. And, the Libertopia obviously doesn't happen right away, and Piratopia doesn't happen right away. I suspect that we are on a train going down the same track, and some of us might get off before others. That's all. But I think that there's probably a lot of alliances, at least until we get to Poughkeepsie.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's the thing, and something that I really like to push within the Pirate Party is this idea of, I think everyone who's just generally, freedom-minded, legitimately freedom-minded, not just using it as a buzzword like some people do, agree on way more than they disagree. And I think a lot of these, petty squabbles between, like, I guess the bottom half of the political compass are really just that. They're just petty nonsense. We agree on so much. Why should we not work together? And I really think that that's part of the pirate ethos, is these, like, tiny micro ideological divisions aren't really worth all the time and effort that some people want to put into them.
I think, ironically, it's mostly on the libertarian spectrum. It's mostly about control, and to be I mean, I always say leadership in the libertarian parties is like being the principal of a homeschool. Like there's no real power to it, but there are roles and responsibilities you got to execute, but there's no power to it. But so let's talk about 2022, 2024 beyond. What are you planning on running anyone nationwide as the next presidential election can roll around?
Pirates, I do not see us running a presidential candidate anytime soon. Because that's not where our focus is. We want to be focused at the local level. And that is very important to us. I mean, naturally, if someone steps up and says, I want to run for president as a pirate, we're not going to tell them no. But that's not necessarily our ethos. We have a few congressional campaigns going right now, just two. That's probably the highest amount that'll get. Those are for 2022. I don't see us having more than two in 2024, if even we have two. For the most part, we do really want to continue to concentrate our efforts on the local areas, because that's how you win as a third party, because then you can actually win, because you can contest uncontested races, or I mean, sometimes even races where one person is resigned and they don't even know who's going to fill the seat.
So
that's where we ought to win.
So Jay, just I don't want you to speak for all pirate people, but let's say you were to get elected to your local school board. What would that look like?
What would that look like for me? For one, I want everyone to know when and where the meetings are taking place. So if they want to come observe them, they can. That's something that our elected pirate in Massachusetts, he's really big on what can he do to make the government more transparent from his perspective. So he really likes to, get the information that, all the information that he can. Obviously can't talk about everything, but he's just on a town board. And really make sure that information is available to the public, that they know what's going on, they know what he's voting on, they know where to show up to see him. And I think I would take a similar ethos to that if I were elected to anything. I really just want the public, any constituents that I might have, to be aware of what I'm doing and why, and I would share as much information as I possibly could with them. And I would probably explain to them every single thing we're doing. So I think for pirates, you really can't be that ideological at the local level a lot of the time. Sometimes you can, but not all the time. So I think where a pirate would really shine in those very small level local offices would be being just being a good civil servant, because we don't have enough of that in our local offices.
Fair enough.
If I could chime in real quick, my goal when really getting people together for the Pennsylvania Pirate Party was to really not bother with anything this year for 22, mainly because in Pennsylvania it's all statewide offices, and we just frankly don't have that kind of an organization to get that many signatures. But it is to get people running next year, and I'm going to be running next year because I need to get reelected as constable, and I would like to be reelected as a pirate. I don't think anything for me changes being a pirate versus being a libertarian constable. I'm still there to keep the peace at the polls and help people vote.
If you don't own the pirateconstable.com, please go get it immediately.
Pirate Constable. Yeah, that's so I might have to look into that. But my goal is to get local candidates on the ballot next year in 23 when Pennsylvania has municipal elections.
Pirate jokes are happening.
Yes, love the pirate jokes.
The pirates have been like silly in the past. I think it was Falkvinge that showed up to the EU with an eye patch on one time.
Yep.
If I remember right. The USPP, we try not to do that much of that, just because the US takes politics way too seriously. I think we would get laughed out of the room and probably also get threats of violence against us if we were too silly.
I like keeping things a little bit lighter, but
we do like to keep things lighthearted at the same time.
We still pay for the fact that a guy stripped down on stage at a national convention. So, I completely understand that. I mean, in fact, I hear people complain about a former candidate in Georgia wearing a Hawaiian shirt to and this is before the whole Boogaloo things happened. So that
and yet they all love Vermin Supreme because he's just way too lovable. And how can you not love Vermin Supreme?
He is. He's a great guy. I love Vermin.
He's amazing. Yeah.
So let's talk about some national issues. I know that your focus more is on local issues, but
we do have opinions on national issues.
Sure. Yeah, I know one of the big things you're talking about is copyright protections. What is the Pirate Party's vision of copyright protections moving forward?
Pirates don't hate the idea of intellectual property, but we do believe that it's been taken, way beyond a reasonable extent. I think there are a few different models that pirates have proposed in the past for how to do better about IP. There's not one in particular that I really like, but the general idea is that people should absolutely be able to profit off of their work for a couple years after it's released, a reasonable amount of time, and then we have this thing called the free and open culture, right? And while that also applies to being really socially libertarianism, the socially libertarian to a fault, it also applies to things like copyright. And we do believe that after those few years are up, things people make should be in the public domain for people to enjoy and for people to remix and for people to do what they want with, because culture shouldn't belong to anybody. It shouldn't belong to the government, and it shouldn't belong to, massive corporations that can maintain their copyrights for over
hundreds
70
of years.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little more extreme in that. I think honestly, copyright that, first of all, the DMCA is a piece of literal garbage.
It's awful.
It's terrible and needs to go. Yeah, DMCA. We would get sued for doing that because we just use copyrighted music.
Yeah.
So thank you, DMCA. Honestly, that comes from a recording industry that didn't have any idea how to deal with the 21st century. I mean, if you look at how the music industry has adapted to today, with what our mainstream stuff is today, there's no need for the DMCA. And I think one of my biggest problems is fair use of copyright, even just snippets of copyrighted material. Like anybody that does YouTube, and and that's why cops are now playing Disney music. I mean, come on, you can't record the cops because you can't share it to YouTube because you'll get it taken down because there's copyrighted music playing. I mean, give me a break. That's ridiculous.
I do think it's critical in the conversation about IP to separate patents and copyright too.
Oh, I think patents should be completely abolished.
Yeah. Medical patents are murder. No
Yep. We've said that before. We're fully with you on that. We want to completely get rid of patents. Actually, that's part of our platform.
Patents don't help anybody but the patent trolls.
Yep.
And it's been going on forever. I mean, that's not a new thing. Patent trolls are not a new thing. Remember Henry Ford spent years and years and years fighting a patent troll.
Yep. And I mean,
God knows how much money.
Right. And the fact is that to get the patent, you have to reveal all of your secrets in the first place, which is incredibly stupid.
Yes.
You're in the medical industry, so I know that particularly impacts you.
Oh, so many patients are paying so much money for medicines that have been around for 100 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Patents on medications, patents on surgical techniques, instruments, all of it. It's just costing everybody more money. Period. That's all it's doing.
And we get the question sometimes. Oh, well, how will people be feel empowered and encouraged to make stuff if there's no patent or whatever? And I don't really think they realize the way the system already drains creativity out of them.
The way that patents are working now is just they're completely broken.
Yeah.
The things that are granted patents, somebody could draw. I think it has been there have been patents that were drawn on napkins and the sketches were submitted and were you do not have to have a novel idea. You just have to have an idea that hasn't been patented yet.
Yeah.
And that's a major problem.
Yeah.
It's a major problem in tech. It's a major problem in medical. It's a major problem everywhere.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things too is that you actually do see some sort of free market solution coming out that doesn't involve the government and doesn't involve force, where people are using NFTs to, enforce and say, this is the real version of this song, or this is the real version of this book. People who want to have a book reader that we honor, it should honor NFTs, something like that. And so, as much as I don't like that, I think that the fact that there's no force involved in it, I can't stop somebody from doing that if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things with copyright too is right now they've been enforcing things on regular people just for doing regular sharing of things.
Right.
And that was never really the intent of the copyrights. The intent was to stop the actual piracy. Now, we don't, that's not us. The actual commercial piracy of things like, a lot of like what China does, where they will make duplicates of DVDs or movies or whatever and sell them. That's not the same thing.
Right. When I was selling The Sorcerer's Stone and claiming it was my own original work. That was wrong.
Right.
We've done
Yeah.
that.
Same.
So let's talk about policing in America. What's the pirate solution for what's going on with policing in America?
I mean,
Well, I have one. And this comes more from me being a constable than being a pirate. I think the ultimate solution to all police brutality and all bad cops is every single police officer, and that's everybody that's a law enforcement officer across the country, needs to have a $2 to $4 million liability policy.
Yes.
And out of their own pocket. And if they cannot, and that's how constables work in Pennsylvania. You have to provide your own liability policy before you can actually do work for the courts. Now, I don't do that because I'm not a working constable. I just do my 2 days a year thing at the polls, and that's my community service sort of. But if I wanted to be a working constable where I go serve warrants and pick up and transport prisoners, things like that, I have to have a $2 to $4 million personal liability policy on me. Now, the way that fixes things is that if I lose my insurance because of my own behavior and become uninsurable, I can no longer be a law enforcement officer.
Yep.
I think that is a perfectly good way for government to say, look, it's not us. We're not firing you. You can't be a cop anymore because they said so because you're uninsurable.
Well, I mean, that it's not only just cops being a individual cop being uninsurable. If a department has several cops that lose their insurance or have their insurance raised because of malfeasance, then it raises it for everybody in that department because the insurance companies, they're managing risk, they're pooling risk. Mm-hmm. So it also ensures that the leadership within the department starts to rain down on bad actors within the department. They always tell you, oh, it's just a few bad apples, but they forget the entire parable of that, and that's a few bad apples spoil the bunch. So if you don't get rid of the bad apples,
and the other thing I would say about private insurance is, if somebody gets a judgment against them, the insurance company's paying that money out, not the municipality. So it's not tax dollars going out there because you're not having millions in tax dollars going out, or a tax or an insurance company for the township or the city paying that out, and then the city itself losing its insurance.
Yep.
It's the individual insurance that's paying that out.
And every law enforcement officer, their rates go up whenever there is a payout. And so they have an incentive to make sure that bad cops aren't being employed.
It is absolutely a positive incentive for people to be good actors instead of bad.
And it's a working model. This is what doctors do.
Yeah, I was about to say doctors, and there are some nurse specialties, especially in like OBGYN. They have to carry their private malpractice insurance in addition to what the hospital has on them or the clinic or what have you. You said that's interesting because I used to be a nurse at a jail, and we had an inmate came in, and I don't know, he was injured on the way. Shocking, I know. Oddly enough, I'm the only one mentioned in the lawsuit. The only person there to take care of the man was the only person that had to show up at court because everybody else is covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I just think that solves itself.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm about sold on this party, y'all.
Yeah.
We love to hear that.
Qualified immunity and things like that. That's the biggest argument for qualified immunity is that, you know, if we don't take care of the cops, then there won't be cops. Well, you know, don't sell me so hard, but you know, we've
taken care of them well enough.
Yeah, they're taken care of, and really, I mean, to do anything like even like a security guard in New Mexico, because they're allowed to carry weapons, they have to be bonded and insured. So, you know, the bond just in case they decide to skip out, but the insurance to take care of any injuries that are resultant of malfeasance. So, how do people get involved in the pirate party?
There are a few different ways. I think one of the ways that we try to direct people towards is we have a Discord chat room. You can find it on our website, uspirates.org. If you go there, there should just be a little thing in the sidebar that says, you know, join our Discord, and you can join, and we'll point you in the right direction for whatever else you want to do. Another way that you can get involved is on our About section on our website. We have the emails of some of the officers. I would contact Mitch DeVillo, our swarm care manager, and send him an email if you have, you know, some kind of grand project in mind, like starting a state party. And I guess the most important thing is you just need to keep up with what we're doing as a party, right? So we're on YouTube, the United States Pirate Party. I might get you a link for that later if you want to put it in the description or something. I don't have it on hand. And we stream. The Pirate National Committee meets weekly, and every other week we live stream our meeting over a video chat. And that's a way that, you know, anyone can just come and see what we're doing. We try to be, you know, super transparent in that aspect. So following up on what we're doing on YouTube is a way to get involved. And another way is, you know, get involved with our social media. We have a Twitter. I can't remember what our Twitter handle is. That's very bad. But if you just,
I can't remember ours either.
If you just search up United States Pirate Party, you'll find us. I do a lot of angry but also pragmatic tweets, and it's not just me, you know. Yeah. And what else? Basically, I mean, those are some of the ways that you can get involved. Just let us know about your presence, and we will point you in the right direction. We have committees that basically anyone can walk into and join within reason. They're more like, you know, working groups to try and fit that swarm-wise model. We are always looking for people who want to start state parties. This is just a pirate success story to brag. A year ago, we had 2 state pirate parties. We had Wisconsin, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin barely existed. It was mostly just Massachusetts. Now we're coming up on our national convention again. We have 5 state pirate parties and 3 to 4 in the works. So we really are rebuilding, and I'm really proud of that. I just rambled for a little bit there. I apologize, but I think it was all good info.
Well, anybody that wants to get involved with Pennsylvania, that you're in Pennsylvania, hit me up. We are AJ and I and Johnny Robinson, who's one of the other organizers in Pennsylvania, do a weekly Pirates 101 right now. We're working on that, and that's on our YouTube channel, and I will share that link too. I don't have it at the second, but I will pull it up. And we have our website is in progress at papirates.org. Not quite done yet. It takes a lot longer to do that than social media.
Yeah.
We have a good Facebook page which has our meetings coming up, which we will have one not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. We are usually meeting every 2 weeks. I believe it's the 18th. So
U.S. Pirate Party.
Yep.
Page. I actually I like your page. I like the main website, and
Thank
you
you.
guys I think almost as good as the Libertarian National Party in getting update with news and policy positions out there. I think that's really good.
And something that I think you should do real quick while you're here is you should go to that, I think it says convention up top, and go to our 2022 convention page, if you're so inclined.
Ooh,
Conference?
where is it?
Conference.
Yeah, sorry. Conference, convention. We use them interchangeably. May 30th to June 5th, we are having our Pirates Reborn conference. We would love anyone who's interested in the party. It's all digital. It's all online. We're not asking you to go anywhere. We're just asking you to watch our YouTube live streams. We would love anyone who's interested in the Pirate Party or just wants to keep up with what we're doing to watch this as it happens. It's sort of a happy accident. We did it around this time last year, but I sort of pushed that we made sure it happened after the LP one because I knew that there would be a lot of interested libertarians that might want to watch. That's purely a very dirty strategic move on my part. I'm unashamed. I am unashamed to admit that.
Unashamedly opportunistic. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
You could just say pirate, right? That's what it means.
Right.
Yep,
We'll just
exactly.
we'll pirate the whole party, right?
But yeah, it's not as up to date as I'd like because we are a small party, so we do things. We do things down to the wire and to the last minute as much as a lot, just because we're so small. But we'll be updating this page throughout the coming days with more and more information about our actual agenda, what's going on. We're actually having panels sourced by average pirate members, and we want to promote their thoughts on how to move forward. So that's something I'm really looking forward to is when you tune in to watch this conference, you're not just going to be watching the pirate leadership speak. We're going to be doing a lot of it because we love to talk, but you're also going to be watching everyday pirates just come and share their thoughts. Some are doing pre-recorded videos. Some want to stream with us. But I really think that this convention is going to give any interested person, libertarian or otherwise, a really good impression of what we're about.
Excellent. Well, best of luck with the conference. I'll probably tune in for a little bit of it since I'm not going to our. It's kind of around the same time as our national convention in Reno.
It's afterwards. It's deliberately afterwards.
Yeah, deliberately afterwards.
So just a hair afterwards, and like last year, I wouldn't have done it because I had just done the online convention for the Libertarian Party. But I think at this point, I'm okay with going back to an online convention. So, best of luck with this. And,
I have some thoughts about online conventions.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, man.
Yeah. Oh boy. But
so we've come to that part of the show that we're going to go into. Let me stop sharing this.
Yay!
We're going to move into the news quiz.
Oh, I'm going to fail.
It's fine. There is no fail. There is only
only try and do.
Right.
That's not how that goes.
That's not how it goes.
It's not how it goes, but that's how it works here.
As Dave told me when I asked him a question once, I said, Dave, I think this is a stupid question. Dave said to me, Dan, there are no stupid questions, only stupid people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm
going to have to agree with that.
All right. So the weekly news quiz for CNN. And the reason why I do CNN and not New York Times is because I'm cheap and I don't want a subscription. So let's talk about question number 1, which is which historic Supreme Court decision may be overturned later this year?
Well, that's not hard.
Honestly, I think you could honestly make a case for all of them at this point. But
Dred Scott was overturned. So
yeah, that's true. All right. Brown versus Board of Education, Marbury versus Madison, Roe versus Wade, or Dred Scott versus.
Oh,
Van
I mean,
Fleet.
I think a lot of people would be happy to see Marbury versus Madison overturned at this rate, but I'm going to go with Roe.
You are correct, sir.
It is. You know what? I want to throw a quick thing in there about Brown versus Board of Education, and a shout out to AJ Campbell on this. When Earl Warren, Chief Justice, was asked what was the most important case that he presided over, and he had presided over Brown versus Board of Education and over Miranda, both of which were checked. He said Baker versus Carr, which has to do with redistricting in the state of Tennessee. So people who don't know it, look up Baker versus Carr. One of the most important decisions in our lifetime. Well, maybe not y'all's lifetime. Actually, not my lifetime either. But
Wow.
anyway,
All right.
My lifetime.
you're old. You're younger than me. Baker versus
Everything
Carr.
rolls downhill, darling. It keeps going through the years. Let's be honest.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Question number 2. Which major automaker announced a massive recall of SUVs this week? This one I don't know.
I don't know either. I have no idea.
BMW,
Oh, I did.
Ford, Mercedes-Benz, or Toyota?
I heard about this, but now I'm.
If I had to guess,
Boy,
it would have to be Ford, just because none of the other guys produce massive amounts of SUVs.
yeah, I think it had to do with.
Toyota does.
It had to
Toyota
do.
does.
Ah, man, I can't. I think it's Ford too, but I remember hearing
Ford
this
on
story
record.
earlier this week.
I'll go with Ford just because I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I go Ford just on reputation of Ford alone.
Yeah.
So. Correct.
Oh,
Ford, up to 250,000 Ford Exploders are recalled due to a mechanical problem that can cause the SUV to roll away when it's parked.
Ooh,
That's
as a
terrible.
teenager, I had a car that did that. And it wasn't good. I had
No,
a
it's
couple
not.
of
Especially if you're on a hill, then that's not
yes,
good bueno.
yeah, not good.
What's his name? Chekhov was killed by a car that did that, right?
Yeah, that's right. It well, was it that or was it the
It was
where the emergency brake
Yeah.
stuck or something like that? And
it was the same sort of thing, that the car went into gear when it was supposed to be stopped, and he was run over and killed by his own car.
Wow.
Ugh,
Backed up.
that's terrible.
Yep.
All right. Question number 3. Widely known as as fashion's biggest night, which exclusive party took place in New York City on Monday?
This I know because I was there.
You were there.
Not there.
You were there. And wore the fanciest dress there. So
since we all know, I just want to say it was serious whiplash seeing people talk about the Roe v. Wade thing, and then seeing people talk about this. My Twitter page was filled with both, and it was the weirdest experience. That I mean, you have a lot of weird experiences on Twitter, but that's definitely up there for me.
So
Dan,
what is
Dan was wearing the taxation is theft dress?
Right. Exactly. I was wearing Dan Berman's hat.
that's a big hat to fill.
That is a
Although,
good-
I don't know why we don't work to get Vermin at the Met Gala. I mean,
Oh, that would be fun.
For
Yeah,
real.
I will.
That'd
talk
be
to him.
amazing.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah, that has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, get him there with his camera and media credentials, and
Oh my god.
Have
Yeah.
him ride up on a pony.
I'd be down.
Oh
Yep.
my god. That would be great.
That would be beautiful. So celebrities wore their most striking outfits, including this one right here that looks like it blends into the carpet, or it is the carpet. I don't know.
Looks like a comforter I used to have.
Yeah.
it definitely looks like
Or
a comfort.
what, fuchsia Michelin tires?
That too.
This is
Yep.
urban camouflage right here. Yeah, that's what that is. That's urban camouflage.
Yep.
Awesome. All righty. Question number 4. Russia and Western officials believe that Russian President Vladimir Putin could formally declare a war on Ukraine soon. On what day do they expect this to occur? May 9th, May 30th, June 1st, or July 4th?
May 9th, if I recall correctly.
That would have
Which
been
is-
my guess.
I
Tomorrow?
missed this story, so that's not.
I've heard
one
that they're because this is a big change because Vladimir Putin's been trying to sell that this is a not a war but a rescue
Exactly.
operation.
Yeah, well, this has to do with their the Victory Day, or whatever over there.
It's
And
the day after VE. May 8th, May 9th is Victory
Yeah.
in Europe.
Yep.
Oh.
so it's not.
Putin likes symbolism, so probably
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is. Authoritarians really love their national symbolism.
Yeah. So officials believe Putin could formally declare war on Ukraine as soon as May 9th because it would coincide with Victory Day inside Russia, which commemorates the country's defeat of the Nazis in 1945. All right. Question number 5. What percent of the U.S. population has received the COVID-19 booster shot?
I knew this without seeing the answers.
None of my business.
10%, 60%, 30%, 90% correct. AJ.
I have no
None of
idea.
my business.
booster.
Nunya.
I'm assuming
It's 60.
It's 60.
That's what I would guess. That's what I would guess too.
Probably
thinking
over
it's
50. Probably over half. Yeah.
Don't think it's 90. I'm pretty sure.
No,
it's
I don't
not
think we're
90.
anywhere.
Definitely not 90.
Oh,
No,
30%.
only 30%.
Wow.
That's
Ooh.
probably that sounds
But it-
about right.
Right.
But it does say 77%
Have received at least
one dose. Okay, well,
Wow.
I got to give you the wrong one. I'm sorry.
we at least got. Well, it's all right.
I was gonna say whatever the
Punishments
lowest
will
one
be-
is, but
The
Yeah.
lowest is
Punishments will be created and enforced, Dan.
Yay.
Number 6. Which country endured an extreme heat wave this week that tested the limits of human survivability, according to a climate expert? Australia, Sweden, Egypt, or India?
I'm going to
India.
I'm going to go with Egypt.
I mean, let's
think
think
India.
hemisphere wise, right? It's not going to be Australia because, right, they're going into winter.
Yeah.
So
too early
and
in
it's
the
not going to be
spring.
Sweden because it's that cold.
yeah. It's
So-
not. I don't think it's no.
Egypt or India? I'm going to go with AJ. AJ
Yeah,
said India.
I'm thinking India. 'cause-
was gonna say,
Totally.
which AJ?
Can't you tell?
All right,
I'm
let's do
Egypt.
this.
Yeah, go with. Oh man, I don't.
Correctamundo.
Oh.
Temperatures over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, see, the thing between India and Egypt is it's a dry heat. With India, it's humid as fuck.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I know when it gets close to 100 here in Pennsylvania, it's freaking miserable.
I lived in Georgia for 14 years, and my entire existence was going from air conditioned house to air conditioned car to air conditioned building. I hated humidity.
Mm.
And thankfully, being up here in West Virginia, I don't have much of an issue with it hitting 100 too often. It's done it a couple times, but nothing.
I got to throw in another quick thing for people to look up. The heat wave of 1896 in New York City was a week where it was over 100 degrees. Teddy Roosevelt, that sort of made him as a politician. He was director of parks. And at that point in time, it was illegal for people to sleep in the parks, and the police were clearing them out. And so instead, they had to live in these tenement buildings that you can imagine at 117 degrees, which was a recorded temperature. Unbelievable.
And no air conditioning.
No air conditioning, stuff like that.
Oh,
And then one of the other big problems they had was that horses were dying all over the place in the heat. And one of the most fascinating things about the story is that anybody who's ever had to move a dead horse or large animal, I had this conversation with Holly Ward, who had to move camels in Iraq, dead camels. It's a very difficult procedure. In fact, it used to be a profession. There was a word for a person who came and moved dead horses in the city. That profession is gone. But people who want to study history, look up the heat wave of 1896 in New York City. Amazing story.
oof. I went through a heat wave in St. Louis one year, and it was, and people don't think of St. Louis can be seen as a hot city, but not that hot. I woke up one day and it was 97 degrees at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
100% humidity, and it got up to 112, I think, that day.
Wow.
whoa.
They shut down the arch because to the arch, it's like a little
Metal fatigue.
very slow elevator. Now, metal fatigue is part of it, but it's not air conditioned. So you go into that hot box
an oven.
of death. By the time you get to the top, you're dead.
Oh my God.
How did they find that out?
I'm sure it was found out quite
Right.
accidentally.
They send a ham up first.
Yeah, it's no bueno. So I lived in St. Louis for a year. Never been up to the top of the arch because that was the day that we were going to go up there. So, oh well. But yeah, so yeah, India. I could see that being over 100 degrees in India has probably got to be a fairly miserable experience. Question number 7. What piece of sports memorabilia recently fetched 7 figures at an auction? Michael Jordan's high school basketball shoes, Jackie Robinson's All-Star Game bat, Venus Williams' Wimbledon racket, or Muhammad Ali's boxing gloves?
I
have
feel
no idea.
I don't know. I don't keep up with any of these sports, but I feel like I have some faint recollection of seeing something about Muhammad Ali in the news, so I'm gonna go with that.
I don't have a clue on this one. I haven't seen anything about sports memorabilia this week.
I'm going to go with Jackie Robinson's bat just because it's the oldest of all of them.
That's true.
I think I saw something about Michael Jordan.
Oh man!
But
All right, we got everyone. Dave, you are the deciding vote.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come on, Dave.
I'm gonna go with AJ on this one. I think it's Michael Jordan.
oh, that's a terrible idea.
Well,
Click it.
incorrect. It was. Oh, Dan was right.
It was Jackie Robinson.
You redeemed
Well done,
it,
Dan.
See,
Now the punishment goes
right.
to AJ.
Yeah, that's just the scarcity thing.
$1 million for a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there. I think the Honus Wagner card just sold.
Oh, yeah.
So Honus Wagner did a card. There was a mistake on the card, and I think this is actually one that's been kind of chewed up by a rat at some point.
And it wasn't truly a baseball card; it was a tobacco card.
Yeah,
that they started to sell. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that sold for like $7 million.
Well, the next thing that's coming too is somebody's going to sell a Black Lotus Magic card for about that much.
Dude,
An alpha Black Lotus.
Oh, well, they already sell for.
They do sell for quite a bit.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we got the Pirate Party guys on here. Like, I spent a lot of time thinking about like how I could print out, Spider-Man 1 issues and Roger Clemens baseball rookie cards and stuff like that. Because when I make $1 billion, I'm erecting a copy of the Grand Pyramid at Cheops in Nashville. And I'm going to put the best replicas money can buy of all the world's great art there.
Are you going to do it like right next to the Hermitage or the Acropolis they got there?
I have some of these now just for proxies. I call them proxies. Some of the people that I play with don't care.
Damn it! I'm going to go get my card now.
That's a pretty common practice.
Gathering game here.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe enough for a good Commander game. Yeah.
No idea how to play that. All right. Question number 8. The Biden administration announced $3 billion in investments this week into ramp up production of which critical items? Javelin missiles for Ukraine, COVID-19 tests, batteries for electric vehicles, or solar panels. $3 billion to ramp up production for which critical?
Well, it's the government. I mean, the weapons make most sense, right?
It's gonna be the weapons. We're talking about the U.S. government here.
$3 billion's too small for a weapons.
Yeah,
I think it's batteries.
I
think it's batteries for electric vehicles.
Probably batteries too.
Because I know there's a couple of plants that are ready to go online.
I could see solar panels just because the Chinese are dominating the market, and that's the sort of thing that they get behind. So, I don't know. I will yield to anything.
Yeah, I haven't heard this one either. I agree that the $3 billion is way too small for a that's like 3 Javelin missiles.
Yeah, that's like a javelin.
Yeah. COVID-19 tests? No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's either one of these electric stuff.
And it may be because gas price is so high. That's why I'm leaning towards batteries.
That does make sense.
Does.
Since weapons are apparently expensive, I didn't know.
Yay.
Biden administration announced bipartisan infrastructure package that will direct $3 billion towards the production of lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles to make the the U.S. more energy independent.
Yeah, but isn't all the lithium in Russia?
We
Uh,
don't have to talk about that right now.
yeah.
I know it's a problem that the sourcing of lithium itself is an issue.
Well, there's a ton of it. I think ton of it in Congo, but that is all Chinese owned right now.
Ah, well,
Right.
rather have China own it than the Russians right now. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
They'll at least do business with us.
Yeah. Question number 9. What state may issue unprecedented water restrictions unless residents and businesses cut back their usage? Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Maine, or California?
That's got to be California. The West is a nightmare when it comes to water and water rights.
I want to go with New Hampshire just to be funny because I'm on a libertarian podcast.
The only thing that would make sense is if cutting off Twitter, but we could only hope.
Yeah, it's got to be California.
Got to be Cali.
We'll go with California.
Definitely California.
It feels too easy. I don't know. Okay, right.
Yeah, so
They should have given us a couple of
35%.
Western states.
yeah, if they had done like Nevada, that would have made it a little more,
Definitely.
or Arizona. Yeah, that would have made it harder. But California versus northeastern states makes it much easier.
Yeah. Have you seen Lake Mead lately? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's
Hard to see Lake Mead. That's the
It
problem.
is. It's very hard to see Lake Mead.
Yeah, so Southern California has been asked to cut their water usage by 35%. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown,
Flush
let
it
it
down.
mellow.
Right. Start to get the green paint out, everybody.
Let it mellow a little better.
Desalinization, baby. You could float a solar panel and run a current into the ocean, and desalinization magic.
Well, I mean that's one of the things that could be some of the solutions to environmental issues, like where the ice caps are melting and just dumping a ton of fresh water into the oceans and cutting out some of the salt or reducing the salt content of the oceans. Pulling the salt out and reintroducing it back into the oceans might help balance the salination of the oceans.
No. I mean that we're not touching the salinization level of the ocean. I mean, the rain keeps dropping fresh water in there.
Well, we are, but I mean, if you're talking about California-sized chunks of ice, and the Arctic melting, that's there's some concerns there.
Yeah. Next question.
Things we do to save California. I
Let's not fight in front of
swear.
the children, Dave.
What's that?
Let's not fight in front of the children.
Look, that's the only way they'll learn.
Yeah.
Question number 10. A unique hotel is scheduled to open in 2025. Where will it be located? In space, the deepest part of the ocean, on White House grounds, at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
I mean, space is hot right now, but I don't see that happening.
There is an apartment at the top of the Eiffel Tower. At least it was originally.
There's 2 awesome restaurants on the different floors too.
I don't see them putting a whole hotel up there.
I don't see them putting anything on the White House grounds. Have any of you been to the White House lately?
No.
You can't even get near it.
Yeah, first time I went to the White House, people were driving on Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White
Right.
House. It's 1992.
Yeah.
Now Pennsylvania Avenue has been blocked off. It's a pedestrian corridor. Now the fence has been raised, and they've got these temporary barriers pushing everyone off of the Pennsylvania Avenue side in front of the White House.
Yeah.
I was there, right after Trump was defeated. Of course, he had all of Lafayette Park barricaded off because of the Black Lives Matter protests from the summer before, and just wonderful graffiti on it about how Trump had lost. That was hilarious. But DC is basically a fortress now. And now they've erected massive fences around the Supreme Court.
Yep.
So you can't get
Right. Now, if you even want to say White House, you have to go through the Dr. Jellyfinger examination.
Oh no. He served way too much time.
Hey, some people pay good money for that.
Moon River.
Nice.
I'll go with space just because I have no idea.
Yeah,
It
Let's
feels
go
like
space.
some random business person out there thinks it's going to happen, and it's not going
I
to
think
happen.
with
this
as
could be
many
Elon Musk thing.
as many billionaires that are space hotel. Now that's just from 2001. That's not going to be it. That's way too expensive, even for the billionaires.
And then how do you get off of it? That's the question.
Well,
In the
and
mi-
the
in the
intellectual
middle.
property, the intellectual property that you have to give up to go on there You have to give them your DNA mapping, and
I think this is all going to end up in an event horizon type thing. But
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, not bad.
8 out of
80%, not bad. No, we didn't. Last week our group was better, or not last week, but 2 weeks ago. Our group was better 2 weeks ago, so we got 100%. But
Because
I blame you all.
You didn't have me to pull you down 2 weeks ago.
I only paid attention to the important stuff.
There you go.
we had a bit busier of a week. There were a few things that.
Well, I mean, let's face it. We crushed the Met Gala question.
Oh
So-
yeah, that's true.
We did. That's right. Usually the pop culture questions are the ones that kill us. So
There should have been. I mean, there should have been one about the Derby because that guy was an 80-1 long shot,
That
right?
was an amazing race.
that was,
I didn't see it though. I missed it.
We
It's
watched.
like blink and miss it because that's.
So I will complain though. People complain about the Super Bowl pregame, which starts at like noon, 3 weeks before the Super Bowl starts.
Yeah.
For the length of time that the Derby runs versus their pregame show, which
Oh,
like 4 hours, I think they dedicated to the Derby, I thought was a little bit excessive.
part of it is that NBC is impoverished for sports, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it if they did it if they showed the other races that were going on at Churchill Downs
This is true.
while that happened. Because I'm sitting here betting the whole time anyway. So
yeah. How many races do they run, Dan?
13.
Yeah.
The
they should-
sorry. Yeah, it's 13 because there's one after the Kentucky Derby, and the Kentucky Derby is the 12th. Somebody correct me. It might be 11 and 12. I can see how they might not want to have a 13th race. So it's probably 11 and 12.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's
it's one race right after the Derby.
it's
Well,
like
one-
it's like undercards at an MMA fight, right?
Exactly. And I mean, those are good horses. In fact, if you go back and you watch, so there's some, God bless YouTube, right? And I mean that the coverage that's out there for the Derby now on YouTube is so amazing. So every race for First Strike, you can see him. He ran at Churchill Downs like 3 months before the Kentucky Derby, and you can see that and stuff like that. So Churchill Downs is a great racetrack. They always have good races there. There's no schlubs running at Churchill Downs.
Mhm.
And, all races are fun to bet on.
Yeah, it's fun. I went to Charlestown in West Virginia for the third one. Was at Belmont? The third of
Yeah,
the.
Belmont's the third. Yeah.
Preakness and then Belmont.
That was the year that they had the actual Triple Crown winner, and I bet on it. But it was a lot of fun to be at I just had a racetrack. There wasn't. They had races going on that day, but it was really just being there with a bunch of people watching the race and getting into it. I mean,
Hearing the yelling when it goes off, stuff like that. Do they still do live racing there?
Yeah, they still do live racing. So
It's an interesting thing. I occasionally talk about the Liberty Movement, and those of you who know me long enough know that I organized a protest in Orlando to SeaWorld and stuff like that because cetaceans shouldn't be in cages. I would like to see horse racing get a little more progressive. England has rules now where you can only use the whip 5 times. There's a legitimate argument that, a jockey using a whip on a horse is essentially the equivalent of a 5-year-old poking you. It gets irritating after a while, but it's not really going to damage you. On the other hand, we could have a better sport. And then I have to do the Seinfeld bit about it where he says, do the horses know that if they break a leg, they're going to be killed? Because I think they'd be a lot more careful if they knew that. Hey, don't push.
They are very
Don't
intelligent
rush.
animals,
Yeah,
but
They are. Well, yeah, because I mean, the thing is, when you run the horses, do the horses know that they're racing? They know that the jockey's in a hurry. But then, they get to the end of the track and they're like, here, you wanted to go here. We were just here. I could have turned around and gone the other way.
I think they know. I think they know that if there's a race, and I think so.
And they like to run. I agree.
Yeah,
with
they
you.
do. Well, that's what they're bred for.
And speaking of after the race, the winning horse was really interested in getting with the guide horse back to the paddock.
Well, so that's interesting. That's part of the story. So that this horse who won, he was claimed in a claiming race for $30,000 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And the reason why people didn't want him is because he was so bitey, like all the time. That's his jam, man. He He wants to bite you. He wants to bite other horses, stuff like that.
Hey,
And
whatever
so-
you're into, man. You know.
Exactly.
We don't kink shame.
True,
Yeah,
true.
yeah, no kink shaming. It's
Exactly. Right. I am into horses biting me.
wow.
I don't know. Maybe
Confessions
that
from
one.
Dan Fishman. Look at that.
Oh, that's a good clip.
Right. That is a good clip.
Let's go back to the first question in our news quiz. So, the U.S. Supreme Court had a leak of a draft decision on the Rhode versus Wade. Well, actually, the Mississippi
Right.
abortion law case, and it looks set that Roe versus Wade is going to end sometime in June, whenever that is released.
And not just Roe v. Wade. It was with the later
Casey
decision.
versus Planned Parenthood.
Casey,
Yeah.
yeah, Casey.
That's the important one. Roe actually isn't important law anymore, but everybody remembers it.
Casey,
So that's what they say.
yeah. So, I know that the powers that be are so focused on the fact that there was a leak at the U.S. Supreme Court, and it damages the reputation of this vaunted institution that is not political. Which, first off, it is a political institution. It's been a political institution for the better part of like 50 years now. At least since Clarence Thomas was nominated to the court. Maybe Robert Bork, I guess, is
Bork. Yeah.
probably the first one that really was a political battle. But second off, I am all for transparency. I am all for. We should know these decisions. We should know some of this. I don't.
Yeah, I'll do a little devil's advocate here, though. Several justices have talked about the fact that they write out opinions that they don't actually agree with to clarify their thinking. And writing those things out is meant to be an exercise in your private thoughts. So
for a group that
transparency in terms of deliberation, sure. But when a judge sits there and it's their private thoughts on what they're thinking about, I don't buy that. That's something that you have a right to yet.
I don't think that it was that private thought. I mean, that was I
don't think we would get to judge that.
I think that was a draft that is going around that they were getting sign off on. To me, I don't feel bad for a group that has whittled away at our private.
I don't feel bad for
privacy rights for the last several decades, having their privacy violated.
Of course, the thing about the private thoughts thing is that I get that, but also this wasn't just a judge deciding to write something out on their own time because they wanted to clarify their thoughts, or else it wouldn't have ended up in the hands of a leaker unless they do things absolutely terribly at the Supreme Court.
No. Judges have staff who have unfettered access to their stuff.
Well, we wouldn't have if this was just Alito putting his thoughts down as a potential ruling. I don't think it would have included the other 5.
Yeah, there's something substantial about this. It's not just
going to be a decision.
No, but it didn't include the other 5. It's only his stuff. So people suspected this is how it's going to go. This is the majority, anything like that. But it doesn't say that he's writing for the majority. It doesn't say where the other judges are because nobody knows where Roberts is. There's talk that Roberts is going to write his own opinion.
I mean, what I've heard is Roberts is okay with upholding Mississippi, but not striking down Roe. But that's what I'm hearing.
Right, and I mean, the thing is that
Roberts is a weird guy.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, Roberts is a weird guy. I mean, I am still incredibly mad with him over healthcare.
Absolutely. Yep.
Terrible decision. On the other hand, we're at this point where politics is so broken. And the reason why it's broken is because there's so much power in government.
Yeah.
It's something to fight for. I say this a lot of time, right? A libertarian utopia is not necessarily no government. It's a government that has so little power that we won't fight each other to control it. We will say, you know what? It is my civic duty to serve in government right now. And that's a very different thing. Go ahead.
if this is what it's going to be, okay, if this leak is true and this is how things are going, I think it tells us a couple things. I think it tells us, one, that yes, this system is irrevocably broken. One, because it has been gamed. I mean, the way that people retire, even when people are sick, they don't retire because, oh, I'm going to try to hold out for a few more months until this next election, because that way we can make sure that our guys have, the replacement vote, the replacement votes. I also think if it's also true, I think that at least two of these justices, was it Gorsuch and one of the other ones, should probably be brought, Kavanaugh, yeah, should probably be brought up on perjury charges for their hearings in front of Congress. And that's coming from people that are really angry on the GOP side about this. I can't remember her name. There's a GOP senator,
Susan Collins.
Is that it? That she's really angry about this, that, they testified that Roe is settled law, and here this looks like this is going that way.
To me, I think the thing that's not really, it's being talked about somewhat, but the impact to privacy is, I think, the biggest worry out of this decision, because when it comes down to Roe and all this stuff, is that privacy is at the heart of it. You being able to make decisions with your doctor about your private treatment, that's the thing. And what are the knock-on consequences of, let's say, a Supreme Court gets upended, and now we have a liberal majority. Now, can they go after, can they say that gun registries are fine because we've whittled away the
medical respect of the doctor and the patient was one of the original reasons for Roe.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Roe is not a guarantee to an abortion. Roe is a guarantee to a right of privacy.
And it was meant it was meant for doctors to be able to practice without being fear of prosecution, because it wasn't women that were going to be prosecuted. It was the doctors that would perform these things.
Right.
So what we're getting at here, is it's not just Roe. Roe is one thing, and if it were to be, overturned and got done away with, that would be terrible. But the really bad part is it's not just that one thing. It's a lot. You have legislators in states and in the federal government talking about all the stuff they want to do after already, even though it's not even a confirmed decision. We have people, again, in the court and in the legislature talking about how they want to go against other things that were decided on privacy. Like, I mean, there's legitimate talk from people in our government right now about, oh yeah, that means we can get rid of gay marriage. I mean, it's a snowball effect. It's not just Roe, and that's very scary.
And it's not just, I mean, you're talking about Obergefell, you're talking about access to contraception to begin with. You're talking Second Amendment rights. You're talking about your privacy when it comes to what happens digitally, or even in your Fourth Amendment rights. I mean, this is.
Will you put my screen up?
There we go. There you go.
Yeah. I think this really means that we should be having a bigger conversation about especially bodily autonomy, medical autonomy. I mean, come on, the GOP and their minions have spent the last 2 years crying and bitching and complaining about mask mandates and
exactly.
So this just proves how hypocritical they really are.
Yep.
Well, it also proves that they're not medical. I'm sorry, but okay, you're talking about legislators are already, planning what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
Governor Lee's already planning on putting restrictions on 2 medications that are used for miscarriages, that are used for abortion, that are used for multiple reasons. This man is a businessman, and if I need a deep freezer, that's the guy I'm going to call. But if I need medical treatment, I'm going to go to my doctor. I don't call my mayor to find out about my ingrown toe. I go to a doctor for those reasons.
Yeah. And
when you take away medical privacy, you are putting people in danger. period.
Right.
If government's
our
involved,
government-
you're in danger.
Our government should have no right, or honestly, probably even the ability to interfere with our other important institutions like the medical system.
Yep. And you know, it's a fascinating thing about it. I used to campaign and say, you know what? Nobody has a right to health care because your health care is provided by a healthcare provider. Nobody has a right to somebody else's labor. We fought a war about that. We have a duty to provide health care to people, but you don't have a right to health care. And Dan Berman convinced me that I was wrong. He's like, you know what, Dan? People have a right to seek the health care that they want. There is a right to health care. Nobody's obligated to provide it for you, but you absolutely have the right to, you know, chase whatever. You know, if you believe that ivermectin is the way to go, well, Facebook took us down. Damn it. But whatever it is, you have the right to pursue the health care that you want.
Yeah, I agree with that
agree.
100%.
And you know, the ironic thing though is that the governor of Tennessee will be trying to ban these drugs, but he is probably currently searching for the drugs to kill inmates in his state prisons.
Or
He
yeah,
is,
bullets
in fact.
are cheaper.
Why?
Who just put that in?
Why do we not use heroin for lethal executions? I mean, obviously, I'm against the death penalty, but heroin. I mean, there's apparently an ample supply of it, and
Yeah,
Each state should probably have a good amount of it in their evidence lockers, don't you think?
exactly.
we got enough.
Fentanyl.
We got enough.
Right,
in West
we could use
Virginia to kill
fentanyl.
everybody.
The fentanyl, yeah, even better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, if the fact that they tried to bring back the gas chamber in Arizona a few years ago is any indication, it almost seems like the cruelty of it is the point.
Well, South Carolina just unveiled their execution room with it has a hospital gurney for the injection, but it also has a chair for
Firing squad, right?
firing squad. Yeah,
Yeah.
same room. In fact, I think their first execution in that room is going to be a firing squad execution here.
Why in the world do we still do? I mean, again, I'm
just brought
against
it
the death
back.
penalty across the board, but why are we still using firing squads
Because you
and
can't
gas
get the drugs.
chambers? I mean, my God.
Yeah, you can't get the drugs for lethal injection now.
Maybe
Because-
that's a sign that the market has decided that we should stop killing people in
Well,
prison.
maybe.
Well, I think these justices are just proving that they're they're just straight up GOP operatives, and we're going to see more of this bad stuff.
Yeah.
Might as well put an R next to their name.
I mean, not counting Roberts because he is a complete wild card.
I call him the furthest.
And the thing is, I do want to give some credence to the fact that there are people out there who legitimately believe, people of good conscience who legitimately believe life begins at conception. I don't want to shit on those people. That's their moral code. But you know what? Your moral code, live by it. Don't make other people live by your moral code. And don't assume that your moral code is right for everybody else unless you can get to a point where it's like 80% consensus. Because I think I could get 80% consensus to say, you know what? Murder, bad. Theft, bad. That sort of thing. But
why is it that all of these people that are saying, that are anti-abortion are some of the first people that are also anti-welfare to help single mothers that, and they're also, just get a job. We're just going to leave you hanging. They're, you're not good, and I don't see anybody actively like
AJ.
I think you are on the right track, Drew, but it's also very interesting to note that the U.S. is highest in maternal mortality.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss about killing human beings. Some of these people die every fucking day. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every day. From I mean, I had 2 emergency C-sections, and to get my tubes tied, to get my own tubes tied,
that's a
I
whole
had to
other
get the husband that threw me through a wall when I was pregnant to sign permission.
that's
our government. That's our government working.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward 3 years in a urology office. I assisted with over 100 vasectomies. Not once did I need a wife to sign permission for a husband to get a vasectomy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there are many conversations that need to
I
be
gotta
had.
tell you, that blew me away learning all that this week.
Yeah.
And
I've heard it before.
I was shamed to not know that because
it's terrible how difficult it is for a woman to get her tubes tied.
Anything with their really anything within the birthing process that requires. I mean, this is like Saudi level bullshit right here. This is like you have to get permission to go out and be out in public from your boyfriend or your husband or your brother.
Our sexual health culture is insane. It's like 1820s level, and we just basically turn a blind eye to it, and I don't know why we do.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, you know.
Well, hey, look, folks, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed having you both on, talking about the Pirate Party and talking about politics. We have reached, actually, we're at 5 minutes over today. We had a great show. Again, tell people how to get involved. uspirates.org is the website. And you have your conference coming up at the end of the month, beginning of June.
May 30th.
May 30th.
June 5th.
It goes on for 4 days.
Yep.
I think 7.
7? Okay.
No, May 30th through,
May 30th through June 5th.
Does that mean
that
pirates know how to party? Is that what you're saying? 7 days?
I'd like to think that we do. Naturally, not every day is going to be jam-packed, but we'll have some fun stuff in there.
And thanks, Craig, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for watching the political deep dive this week. No show next week, as I am working all weekend next week, which sucks.
I'm going to do the show without you.
There you go. You come do the show without me. And we will see everyone in a couple weeks. And thanks, AJ Campbell, for joining the crew. You did a fantastic job tonight, even though you got one.
Yeah, great job, AJ.
Even though you got one of the questions wrong. I won't hold it over you for long. But thanks, everyone, joining us, and we'll see you all in a couple weeks.
Bye, guys.